All right, hallelujah. And we're live. Joshua, chapter 23. I almost went somewhere else today. So the Holy Spirit's working on me on this too. I was going to go to come out of her, my people, and being separate, which we're going to get there today, be ye holy for I am holy, be ye set apart because I am set apart. I was going to take a whole sermon there, but then at the last, I thought that's where I was going, but at the last minute, I was like, no, you're going to stay in Joshua. But amazingly, it's going to tie together. All right, Joshua chapter 23, verse 1. And it came to pass, it sounds like a fairy tale story. What is it? Once upon a time in a land far, far away. And it came to pass a long time after that Yahweh had given rest unto Israel from all their enemies round about, that Joshua, waxed old and stricken in age. Now, the last time we read that Joshua was getting old and stricken in age, he said in the next verse, I am old and stricken in age. And in fact, it kind of holds true. And Joshua called for all of Israel, and for the elders, and for their heads, and for their judges, and for their officers. And he said unto them, what? I am old and stricken in age. I am old and, age is upon me. Now here's the interesting thing. He is fixing to give his last speech, if you will, his farewell speech, his farewell address. Much like Moshe did, Moshe was on a mountain. Clearly, Joshua cannot speak to all of Israel. There's no internet, there's no video, there's no megaphones or anything like that. And so he's calling the top leadership. But as you look at this, it's a fair amount of people that he's inviting to come hear what he has to say. And what this is, once again, is an example of hierarchy. He's calling leaders and then a couple sub-leaders because he wants to make sure the word gets out. But then what are those people supposed to do? They're supposed to go tell their people what he said. And so in the army, it used to be like an unwritten thing. You had to have a pad of paper and a pen or a pencil in your pocket all the time. And there were leaders, and I was one of them, when they would get up and start, all right, guys, listen up, dun, 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 and they would just pick somebody out and say, why aren't you writing this down? Because a lot of stuff happens in life, and you don't know that this is going to get complicated, and I could give you, all right, well, first we're going to do A, then B, then C, then D, but we might come back and do D. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, what did you say? No, just write it down, right? So I was thinking about that when he's addressing these people. He brings them all in, and they've got to pass this stuff down. They have to record it and then pass it on. And in fact, somebody did record it, right? Because here we are reading it, what he said. We're getting ready to read what he said. And so that got passed down and passed down and passed down. Passing of information is a real thing. How does that happen? Everybody's played the telephone game, right? And it's at the other end. What? It's like it doesn't work. So it's important that when we're passing words from higher to lower, that we try to keep it accurate. All right. He said, I'm old and stricken in age, and y'all have seen all that Yahweh your God hath done unto all these nations because of you. For Yahweh your Elohim is he that has fought for you. So they went in and they took the promised land that the Father gave them, right? And they're defeating people, and there's now a little bit of peace. Who did the physical fighting? Israel, the men, right? They went out there and they did the physical fighting and dying, and it was hard in some cases and not hard in others, but it was not, you can believe that it wasn't a cakewalk. They're fighting in the desert mountains, so it was hard. But look what he says, Yahweh your Elohim has done unto all the nations. You see, because he's merely using Israel, and in this case, the Israelite army, as a tool. Yah's doing it. The chisel and hammer didn't make the sculpture. The sculptor did. He used a chisel, he used a hammer to do it. The Father is who conquered this land through the good uses of the Israelites. But that's important to understand too. Humbleness. Look what I've done. You haven't done squat. right? It's the Father that used you as a tool, hopefully. Here I am, Father, send me, right? We have a brother who has that. Whom shall I send? Send me, on his arms. And so it's Yah that's done it. Number 4, behold, I have divided you by lot. I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain to be an inheritance for your tribes, from Jordan with all the nations that I have cut off, even unto the great sea westward. So when we read there, behold, these nations that remain, does anybody have anything different than that or added to that? So these nations that remain, nations, anybody have a different word than nations? It's peoples, it's tribes, it's others. When you see nations, it's like others, right? So these are the other types of people. They didn't kill all the people in the promised land. They still remain, right? There are people who remain, and it's not just remain and they're sitting there. Oh, they remain, they're there, we got to deal with it. The implication is they remain to be vanquished. You haven't taken them yet. And so now if you think of that in your mind and you go back and you look at that, behold, I have divided unto you, this is Joshua speaking, I've divided up to you all by lot, I've given you all, pieced out the land. These nations that remain to be conquered, to be an inheritance for your tribes. Now, see, we think of inheritance as, oh, what am I getting? What am I getting? Oh, Dad gave me the pickup truck, whatever. No. This is your task remains to conquer these tribes that are there. I'm giving it to you. Here, you take your tribes, you take your nations, and go conquer them too. What they did is, as a united army, when they had the tribes with them from the other side of the Jordan, they went forth as, if you will, the main efforts, and they destroyed the bulk of the enemy, the people that the Father said, get rid of. They broke them up and destroyed their kingdoms. But man, there's still people out there in now what is Israel's land. Isn't it interesting how people are saying on the news, because I've been reading it about the Israeli-Gaza thing, that's the Palestinian land. It's just some agreement made by England in 1949 or whatever. Blah blah blah. It's like, no, dudes, that's the land belongs to Israel because Yah said so, and there were other people there when Yah said this is Israel's land. Well, what about the people that were there? Bye-bye. Go. Yah said, you can't live here. This is for Israel. So, behold, I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain to be an inheritance for your tribes, from Jordan, blah, 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 all the way out to the sea. So there's still people here. Make sure I got everything I wanted to say. Yep. So it's for you. So, that was my point. So they came in as an army and they broke it all up. And so there's just these little pockets that remain. But now it's up to the individual tribes that have their allocated land. Take care of your land. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about, 2 weeks ago? Keep your camp clean. Keep your land clean. It's up to you to do that. The Father's not coming down with a Hoover vacuum cleaner to take care of all your problems. You have to take care of your own problems. And where do we start? At home. Right? So we take care of stuff at home, and then we build out, we build out, and we build out. So he says it remains for you. Behold, okay, there we go. 5. And Yahweh your Elohim, he shall expel them from before you, and drive them out of your sight, and ye shall possess their land, as Yahweh your Elohim has promised unto you. Okay, so Yahweh's going to push these people out of your land. So does that mean you can just sit down on your porch and drink your grape juice or your wine or, whatever? Yeah, there's some of those bad guys over there, but don't worry about it. God's going to take care of that. No, he's going to do it through you, right? For you going out there and doing it, he'll make sure it gets done, but you've got to do your bit. He's promised it to you. Therefore, 6. Be ye therefore very courageous. Does anybody have a different word than courageous?
Very strong.
Very strong. That's a better word. Be strong to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moshe, that you turn not aside, therefore, from the right hand nor to the left. Now, see, here's the promise. The promise is, it's kind of like if then, promise, reward, carrot, stick. Look, the Father cleared this land for you. You've got your own pieces of land. Now there's still stuff remaining for you to do, but God's going to take care of that too, just like he took care of the big thing. As long as you keep his commandments, guard and keep his commandments. So now we're getting to obedience and blessings, right? Obedience and blessings. And the other side of that coin is disobedience and curses, right? Good things come when you listen to dad. I used to tell my kids when they were little, look, it's not that hard. Just do what I tell you to do. Don't do what I don't tell you to do, and life's pretty good. It's when you go outside of those things that bad things happen. So be courageous to keep and to do, to guard and to do all that is written in the law of Moshe. How do we guard it? How do we guard Torah? We keep it, but it says, keep, which is guard, and do. Guard it. You got to kind of understand what it is, right? You have to understand what it is we're protecting here. You have to be careful that we don't take just little incremental steps away from it and say, well, that's okay. We'll make an exception this time. We'll make an exception that time. You made an exception for them. Why can't you make an exception for me? We've got to keep it. We've got to guard it. We have to be the guardians of Torah for Yah. And then we have to do it, right? It's just like when I don't think I was on film when I did that, rules for me and not for thee, right? No, you got to do it too. You got to guard it and do it, zealously protect it. Sometimes that means speaking up. Sometimes that means iron sharpens iron. Sometimes that means taking it to a brother or a sister and saying, hey, I don't think you got this right. We don't go to everybody else first. Did you hear about Melissa? Did you hear about Melissa? Come here. Let me tell you about Melissa. I'm like, no, go talk to Melissa. Or in this case, I'd talk to Tony. But I was pretending I was a woman. I was identifying as a woman. All right. Wow. Okay, so this is... Oh, I don't believe he went there. This is the first admonition, if you will, in Joshua's final speech. Keep and do. Keep and do the commandments. He's telling people, like I told y'all earlier about what I admonish people to do. He's saying, keep and do the commandments of Yah. And he's telling the leadership of Israel. Let's continue. That ye come among these nations... So he's saying, hey, not only keep them, but don't turn aside to the right or to the left. In other words, straight and narrow. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eye on the gate. You want to get there. You want to go there. Don't turn left or right. And you're thinking, okay, well, what would make me turn left or right? Well, let's look. He kind of set it up talking about the people that remain. And then in 7, he says that you come not amongst these nations that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves down unto them. Joshua is worried about the nations that remain in the promised land and the interaction of his people with the other. He's like, hey man, don't even talk to them. Don't even mention their gods. Don't let the name of their gods cross your lips. Don't, for Yah's sake, don't bow down and worship these things. Don't do this, don't do that. And it's easy if you get outside of the us to start getting pulled away. It's why we read elsewhere, it is, do not forsake the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is, all the more so as you see the day approaching. Basically, we got to stay together so we kind of keep each other lined up, right? It's kind of like, oop, I wouldn't want to do that because you may see it, and then you'll probably correct me. So instead, I'll just self-correct, and I won't do it. Whereas if you're out there in the world, all of a sudden, things start happening. We've been watching Sister Kate and I, some fascinating kind of like Orthodox Jewish movie television shows out of Israel and stuff like that. And you can kind of see this in their thinking, how they're like, you need to be part of this tight community. And as soon as you start slipping outside of the community, you start changing, and not for the good. So we need to be tight. How tight? All right. So instead of doing that, instead of swearing unto them and doing all this stuff, and that's basically his second admonition. Don't fraternize with the enemy. It's the enemy. It's the other. Don't go in there. Don't talk to him. Don't do all those things he said to do. Don't fraternize with the enemy. You want to fraternize? Fraternize with yourselves. You want to hang out? Hang out with yourselves. You don't need to be doing that. But Pastor Joe, what about spreading the word of Yeshua? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about life and hanging out, who you get your energy from and your joy from, and that kind of thing. So that's the second admonition. Don't fraternize with the enemy. Don't bow down to them, but instead of doing all that, verse 8, cleave, grab onto, hang on to Yahweh your Elohim, as you have done to this day. So he's not yelling at them. He's warning them because he can see where this might go. And in fact, that is where it went, right? But he can kind of see it. Moshe saw it too. Moshe had curses and blessings, right? For Yahweh has, verse 9, for Yahweh has driven out from before you great nations and strong. But as for you, no man has been able to stand before you unto this day. One man of you shall chase 1,000, for Yahweh your Elohim, he it is that fights for you, as he has promised you. And so here it is. Hey, guys, just do what you're supposed to do. Keep and do the commandments. Stay focused on Yah, and he's going to fight all these battles for you. Obedience, blessings. That's what's going to come. What do you think's coming next?
Disobedience versus.
Do what I tell you to do, and everything will be fine. 11. Take good heed, therefore, unto yourselves, that you love Yahweh your Elohim, that you love the Lord your God. We just talked about this maybe last week. He's giving them an order. Make sure, pay attention that you love God. Not if you feel like it, not if he's treating you well, not if everything's roses. You love God. That's a commandment. Love God. What is the greatest commandment? Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy soul, and all thy might. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor as yourself. Love. No choice in the matter. No, well, I'm not feeling it today. Love the Lord your God. And I saw this somewhere. I use this phrase because I hear other people use it. I really have no idea what it means. So my wife will probably go, oh, you got that right. The love languages, right? What are love languages? Well, that's his love language. That's my love language. To me, it sounds like a bunch of psychobabble. But if we want to stick with that psychobabble, you know what Yah's is expecting your love language? Obedience. You want to show Yah that you love him? You obey him. You don't buy him flowers. You don't just worship him. You obey him. You do what he says to do. That's what he expects from you. And so that's what he's saying here. Love the Lord your God. What that implies is, because it's what he just said, keep and do. Do the commandments. If you love me, who said that? If you love me, keep my commandments. Imagine that. Yeshua said that. Or else. See, there's kind of like a pause here. And if you have the King James, there's like a paragraph break there, which means it's a different thought. Else, if you do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, these people that remain, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, and they to you. In other words, if you take your eye off of Yah, and you start hanging out with these people, and all of a sudden you're marrying them, and stuff like that's happening, because they live right there, know for a certainty that Yahweh, your Elohim, will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from off this good land, which Yahweh, your Elohim, has given you. He's like, I'm telling you, do not hang out with these people. Do not go there. Do not make nice with them. Do not marry them, because the next thing you know, these lovely people that you don't understand, they're really nice. They just worship a weird God, but it's okay. They're basically going to torture you. If you read the imagery there of what he said, it's not just like a thorn in my side. It's like all this kind of bad stuff. If you think about it, they're going to be horrible for you if you let that in your gate. And in this case, the gate is the land of Israel, right? If you let that in and you let that remain, bad things are going to happen to you. I'm telling you, and those of you who have raised kids know, you can see activity of your child and say, I'm telling you, right, and it usually happens when they're teenagers, because with little kids, you have total control of them. Do that again, I smack your hiney. Teenagers are like, they get choices, right? You're like, that's not a good road you're going down. And they're like, I know what I'm doing. And you're like, I'm telling you, you go down that road, bad things are going to happen. At some point, as a parent, you just got to let go, pretty much, right? They got to make their own decisions. But you know, because you're older than them and you've seen more, you don't, scourge in your eyes is coming. Mark my words. But that's what he's telling them. Things can go well or they can go bad. It also gets to the idea of sanctification, which is related to the word saint, which is related to the word sanctuary, which is related to the word holy, which is related to all these different words, which all means what?
Set apart.
Set apart. We are set apart for Yah. He chose us as his people. But we have choice. We have choice in there. We can say, no, I don't want to be set apart. I want to be in the world. I want to do worldly things. I want to hang out with these people. It's okay. He's saying, no, that's not what I want for you. I want you to keep and do the commandments of Yah. I want you to focus on that. And I don't want you to mess with these people because they're going to lead you astray. And when they do lead you astray, big problems are coming. And I gave you this good land and you're going to ruin it. That's what he's saying. All right, 14. And behold, this day I am going the way of all earth. This is Joshua. He's like, hey guys, it's getting to be the last little leg of Joshua here. And you know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing has failed of all the good things which Yahweh your Elohim spake concerning you. All are come to pass unto you, and not one thing has failed thereof. The Father's faithful. If we're obedient, he's faithful to us. And that's what he's saying. Look, guys, you've seen he has not failed us. Everything he promised us, we have. We're being obedient. Stay obedient. This is the implication. Stay obedient, and these things will still keep happening, and he'll still keep helping you. Therefore, it shall, verse 15, it shall come to pass that as all good things are come upon you, which Yahweh your Elohim promised you, so shall Yahweh bring upon you evil things until he has destroyed you from off of this good land, which Yahweh your Elohim has given you. When you have transgressed the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, which he commanded you, and have gone and served other gods, and bowed yourselves to them, then shall the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you, and you shall perish quickly from off the good land which he has given unto you. That's pretty harsh, right? He's like, guys, I'm telling you, keep doing what we've been doing. We're going to keep getting the blessings. I'm leaving. I can't guide you anymore. You know, I'm getting ready to check out. So you guys are going to be kind of on your own. Keep following the Father and things will be good. Look, it's been good so far. But if you don't, I'm telling you, bad times are coming. Oh. That reminds me of Leviticus. Let's go there. 19:2. He's telling them to stay separate, right? That's what he's telling them to do. Stay separate, stay special unto Father. Leviticus 19:2. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel. Say unto them, it says in King James, be holy, for I, the Lord your God, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am holy. Be set apart, for I, Yahweh your Elohim, am set apart. Speak unto the whole congregation of Israel. That's what he's doing, in effect. He's talking to the leadership. They're supposed to take it back and tell their people, be set apart. We're supposed to be different. And Christians say, it's popular in many mainline Christian churches. How about that? We're in the world, but not of it. That's a lie. And quite frankly, we're still greatly of the world here too, and you too on YouTube. We really are. The Christian church has the exact same rates of divorce as the population of the U.S. as a whole. They have the same rates of abortion. Yeah, the Christian church. Now that's right in the big Christian church, but same rates of abortion, same rates of drug abuse, same rates of spouse abuse, all the bad stuff. They have the same rates. So how's that different from the world? You are the world. You bring the world into your worship services, for Yah's sake. I mean, it's disgusting. I guess I'm going there. The Father's leading me. We spent a week with a group that were definitely set apart people. It was very holy, very set apart, very filled with Yah. And it was a nice time when we spent, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And then we left to come home, long drive. And we wanted to go this way for some reason. I think we saw a shortcut, so it went through the hills and the mountains. We had to stop for gas. So we stopped for gas, and Sister Kate's running in to go to the bathroom and get some coffee, and I'm pumping gas. And it just, it's early morning, and I'm not quite awake yet. I'm pumping gas, and I see a hooker get out of a car. I mean, like in the movies, hooker. Like heels, really, it's an older woman too. Like, I don't know, late 30s, short skirt above her, way high above her knees, and it was kind of like this frilly, like Little Mermaid material, like really, like little thin netting kind of, what are they, taffeta kind of, I don't know, something like that, and like this really low cut top and like boobs pushed together, and her hair was like that. She had all this jewelry on. I mean, I'm telling you, that's what she looked like. And the first thing I think of, why is there a hooker out here? It would be the equivalent of getting gas down here and seeing this woman. It's like, why is there a hooker here? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, where's the clientele? And then this girl gets out the other side of the car, the passenger side of the car, and she looks just like her, dress-wise. But I'm like, that girl looks like she's about 16. Now I'm starting to get a little mad. Like, what's going on here? Then I realized it's early Sunday morning. These two women were going to church. They were dressed up to go to church. And I was like, I honestly would not have let my daughters go to a high school dance wearing what this woman was wearing. And they still want to be pretty and get dressed up and kind of look like the other girls and stuff. And I'm like, I want to, and you can talk to my daughters. I didn't like make them wear head coverings and be all straight, but I had standards. And I'm like, I want to let them out of the house in that. And these women were going to church, and they thought they looked nice and they were pretty and they were going to church. Well, that's what's become of our church in large degree. Are there good churches out there? Yes, there are many. But there's many just like what I talked about. They are not set apart from the world. They are full in the world. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2. That's another one we don't get to a lot. 1 Peter. It's towards the end. 1 Peter, where are we going? Chapter 2, verse 9. This is New Testament. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a set apart people, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be set apart. People are supposed to look at us and know we're different. And I'm not even mainly talking about how you dress. I'm talking about how you are and how you present yourself to the world. They should see him in us, but we are to be a set apart people. Keep flipping back, Revelation 18. Revelation 18:4, you're going to recognize it when you see it. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, this is New Testament, by the way. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. What's that? That's being set apart. That's not being part of the world. Come out of that world. Why? This is a carrot. It's kind of carrot stick. So you don't participate in the sins, and therefore don't receive of the plagues. They're coming. I mean, I made that phrase popular, right? Kuhim, come out of her, my people. Come out of those built up worldly areas. But I'm telling you, we live out here in the boonies, and all of us still have work to do on coming out of her and stop valuing that shiny blah, blah stuff that detracts from our relationship with the Father. Come out of her, my people. Let's flip back in Revelation to chapter 12, verse 17. And the dragon, who's the dragon?
Satan,
Satan. Was wroth with the woman. Who's the woman?
the church.
It's the church in the end times, the remnant, right? Those of Yah's chosen that remain after all this tribulation has happened. This is getting towards the end of tribulation. He went to make war with the remnant of her seed. This is how we know who these people are, which keep the commandments of Elohim, keep the commandments of God, and have a testimony, it says in King James, of Jesus Christ. That's an and. The people who are going to make it in the end, they've run to the wilderness. That's where we're not going to read that whole part right now, but they have escaped to the wilderness. Why did they escape to the wilderness? Because all the buildup areas are controlled by Antichrist. And he's already starting to lock in on all of that already. It's going to be a time when good Yah-fearing people will not be able to live there, or you will bow down to their gods. And so here's people that we read about that are like, nope, I'm set apart, I'm separate, I'm focused on Yah, I'm out of here. They go to the wilderness, but how do you know who they are? They keep the commandments of God, and they have a testimony of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's very few of us that do that. In the scheme of mankind, that keep the commandments of Yah. Granted, none of us do it perfectly. We're all trying. That's why we have the grace of Yeshua to cover our oopses when we make them. But keep the commandments, keep Torah, observe Torah, and have a testimony of Yeshua, of Jesus Christ. There's people who say they have a testimony of Jesus Christ. Of course, they conveniently forget that part. If you let me keep my commandments, they forget that part. But they say they have a testimony. There's people who are trying their best to keep Torah, and they don't have a testimony of Jesus Christ. They're not in this. They're not the people who are making it at the end. It's the people who have both. That's really important to hold on to. Last bit of scripture, Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. Matthew 7, 13. This is Yeshua speaking. Enter ye in at the strait gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way. So this isn't the gate you're supposed to go into. You're going in